Yep. What do I need to write down here after my first and last name? I just didn't understand it. So
Yeah, that's fine because you gave me the ID number, right? So that's all I
Okay.
need. That's fine. Thank you. Okay. So, so let's move on to the resume writing. We're gonna, well, page 1 is, talks a little bit about what is a resume. What should you put on your resume? It tells you, you need to know that whoever is reading the resume is busy. They're busy people. They're not gonna read a resume that is hard to read, a resume that has too much information, a resume that is, that doesn't really give them something that sparks their interest. Okay, so you need something on your resume that is going to spark their interest. You don't want to talk about salary on a resume. You don't want to give references with a resume. You're just going to say references available upon request or furnished upon request because it's personal information and they're not going to need those unless they're interested in probably interviewing you again at least. So you just don't send them until they request them. We're gonna, you know, that's pretty much gives you some tips on that first page. But the purpose of a resume, your resume is the first impression. I'm on page 2 now. It's the first impression that an employer has of you. As one of your key sales tools, it presents an overview of what you have done in the past and implies what you can do for a potential employer in the future, okay? So, you know, there's a lot of reading here. You know, I'm not going to read everything, but basically, an interested individual takes 15 to 20 seconds to look at your resume. Imagine that. So what they do is they look at the resume, and they're not going to read everything. They're just not. It doesn't matter how good your resume is. They're not. That's okay. They're not going to read everything. They're going to look for something that might interest them. Okay. So your resume is a sales brochure, like I said. It's a calling card. It's a reminder after an interview. If they're interested in hiring you, they're going to look at your resume again. It's going to remind them of the experience you have. And a way to direct the interview kind of helps them also in what kind of questions they're going to ask you. Page 3 tells you what to avoid. You never want to talk about salary in the resume, reasons for why you're changing employment. If you're going from one job to another, you don't need to tell them that. Dates, we're going to talk about that because dates, sometimes they are important, sometimes they're not. I'll tell you what the difference is when you should have dates. No personal information. Even when it comes to hobbies, years ago, and you guys are very young, so you probably don't even, you're not familiar with this, but I always give as an example, when my husband graduated college and I typed his resume, because we didn't have a computer, it was a typewriter, and it was so long because back then, a resume needed a lot of personal information. They wanted to know your age, your height, the color of your eyes, are you married, do you have children, your hobbies. Oh my God, it was so long, and that's what they looked for. They wanted all that information. Well, things have changed, and it's good that they've changed because you don't want an employer not to call you for an interview because he likes tennis and you don't, or because you're Catholic and he's not, or because you're young and he's old, or any of the, you don't want to give them any personal reasons. You want them to call you for the interview because he should feel by looking at your sample that you're gonna, at your resume, that you're gonna fit, you're a good fit for that job. And that's it, nothing else. So that's why none of that personal information is necessary, okay? Now, page 4 is the reverse chronological resume. For those of you who have you said you have a resume?
Yes.
And do you have a resume?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, and do you? Okay. Not having a resume is good because you don't have to undo in case it's not done right. In your case, you have one, so it's interesting because we have a good mix. We can see what the difference is, what your style is versus what I recommend, and maybe we can all learn from that, okay? So the reverse chronological on page 4 is the most common one. That's the one that is exactly what it says, reverse chronological. You start from the most current date and you work your way back. So it does have dates, okay? This is probably the one that the 3 of you are going to use. I have another style in the packet that's called the combination skills function, but that might be more for somebody who has a lot of experience. So I don't know, as we talk, I'm going to explain to you the 2. I'm going to show you what the difference is with the 2 of them, and then you need to decide which one might work better for you. But they're both, let's look at them right now. Let's look at page 5. And I kind of wish I had these side by side. The next time I do the packet, I'm going to do it where it opens this way, because then you can see the 2 styles. It's a little bit easier. But, okay, the reverse chronological and the combination skills function. Those are the 2 that I'm recommending, page 4 and page 5. Now, let's go back to page 4, because the first half of the resume, until you get to professional experience, just before you start the professional experience, it's going to be the same. So it doesn't matter which one you use, that's all going to be the same, the first half, okay? So no matter which style you're going to use, this will be the same. So you're going to start with your personal information on top. You're going to have your name. That's as far as you go with personal information, just what's up here. That's it. Your name, your address, your phone number, and your email address. Now just keep in mind with your phone number, make sure that if you have a voicemail, that it's like conservative, it doesn't go on forever and ever, because what happens is if an employer calls you for an interview, they're not going to have the patience to wait. So just your name, I'm not here, please give me, I'll call you back, leave your number, something like that. The email address, that is very, very important. Make sure it's a conservative. You don't want to have like rmasiri@partyanimal.com or leopardlady.com or anything crazy like that, because you're not going to get an interview. So sometimes you don't think about that, because you might have a fun email address that you share with friends, and you don't think about it. But really, when you're writing it on a resume, you need to be careful that it might give them that reason not to call you for an interview. And you can be a better fit than somebody else, but you may not get an interview. So you need to be very conservative. Now, my samples both will start with an objective. So if you look at my sample, what do you think is an objective on the resume?
What I'm looking for, what kind of position I want to get.
Perfect. That's exactly what it is. An objective is the title of the job you're applying for or the job you're looking for. The title. That's it. You don't have to give a long paragraph and sentence. Okay? That's why this is a targeted resume. This is customizing to the job. Then you get to the education. You're both current the 3 of you are current Brookdale students, right? So you would say currently enrolled, mention your major, Brookdale Community College, Linkworth, New Jersey. Now, do any of you have education prior to Brookdale?
Yep.
Okay, you do you? Not high school, but anything else. Okay, which is fine. If you don't, that's what you will do. You just say currently enrolled, and you're going to mention that it's Brookdale, okay? For the 2 of you, you're going to say currently enrolled, it's going to be Brookdale, but then below that, if you have a degree from a different school, you're going to list it. So you'll follow the sample,
Right.
but Brookdale will be on top and your other school will be on the bottom, okay?
So I would say, currently enrolled in Brookdale Community College.
Right, currently enrolled, but you're going to mention your major.
Okay.
What is your major?
Bachelor in Business.
Business, okay. So you would say bachelor, well, it's not bachelor. For Brookdale, it's an associate. But you're going to say associates in business or business administration, whatever, you have to check the title. Brookdale Community College, Lynbrook, New Jersey. Okay, that means that that's what you pursue. If your GPA is 3.5 or better, I like to see it on the resume. It doesn't have to be there. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get an interview if it's not there, but if your GPA is high and it's the GPA that connects to your major and I mean to your objective, it's going to be impressive. They're going to be impressed with it. If it's below 3.5, I don't recommend it. And just leave it off. It's okay. You know what? I always say that there are a lot of students, I'd say the majority of our students, they attend school, they go to work, a lot of them have a family, they have a lot of other responsibilities, so if the GPA is not that high, it's okay because you're trying to balance a lot, you know? So, you know, that's really what it's about. Achievements. Over here it's got, it's just a sample, but I have Dean's list. If you have another achievement that you want to list, fine. If you...
Does that have to be school related?
Not necessarily, but it depends on, as long as it's not political, religious, you know, anything like that. Volunteer, did you do any volunteer?
Yeah, I did some volunteer.
Okay. I have the volunteer on the bottom, but again, if your volunteer connects with what you're applying for, you can put it under the education if you want, okay?
I have a question. If it doesn't connect to the title of my next job, which I'm looking for, is it good if I will put it here in achievements, or I have to get rid of it and forget about it?
No, still list it, because even if it doesn't connect, even if it doesn't relate, because it says something about you. If you did volunteer in something that has no connection with your objective, it doesn't matter. It's still saying something about you as an individual.
So what I did something, right? So
right,
it's always
exactly. So mention it, absolutely.
Can it be a sport or?
A sport as far as what, volunteer?
No, for achievement.
Oh, for like what?
Like becoming a state champion in football.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's not that common, you know, so absolutely, because it does say something about you, yeah.
Like could be the represent of the class, something like this.
Uh-huh, yeah, yes. Because it shows that you're a leader,
Right.
leadership. Computer skills. Again, not every job is going to require computer skills, but depending on what you're looking for, if you have computer skills, if you're applying for a job, let me back up. Because I talk about these resumes that I recommend being customized, targeting a job. The best way to do that, what's going to help you to customize to the job, is looking at the job description. When you see a job advertised, what's going to tell you what the job is about? The description of the job, right? When you read that description, read it very carefully and ask yourself, what do I have that is in that description that I want to bring attention to? Because that's what they're going to look for, okay? So, let's, for example, say you're applying for a job and they say in the description of the job, must be proficient in PowerPoint. And you are proficient in PowerPoint. Make sure you say it. Don't leave it out. Let's say you're not proficient. You're familiar with it. Maybe you took a course, but you haven't used it. You're not proficient. Say familiar with, knowledge of, because there's still a connection. Remember what I said when you go on that interview. If the chemistry is right, if you're not proficient, but they like you, you're a good fit, it doesn't matter because you can learn. You can get better at it, you know? So always think about that connection between you and the job, okay?
And like about these computer skills, do I have to put like advanced or intermediate? the level that
Sure, absolutely.
I separate both.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Now the qualifications, if you look at the what do you think is the difference between skills and qualifications?
So what you did, what you've done that can relate to the title that you want
Is what? Which ones?
for qualification, like
Yes, but what else? What qualifications are, to computer skills or technical skills, you have to learn. You have to take a course, otherwise you're not born knowing them. You're not gonna know them unless you learn. You take a course. Qualifications are part of your personality. They're job-related traits. They're innate. They're part of who you are. Friendly, dependable, reliable, organized, good communication skills. You know, everybody's better at something than everybody's got their qualities, you know, and it's part of your personality. Does every job require that you be organized? No. It depends on what you're going for. But again, we go back to that job description. If you're applying for a job and the description says must be highly organized, and you are organized, in your qualifications, make sure you say highly organized.
Mhm.
Okay? And if you're not organized, don't say anything at all. You know, and that's how you separate those two.
So for qualifications, I don't need to learn something special, right? I just have this, I don't know, knowledge or something.
Right. It's more like
It's my identity, like.
right. Exactly. Reliable, dependable, friendly, organized.
Yes.
You know, they're really part. Think of your personality. You know, like but it's your personality, but it's traits that fit the job. You know what I mean? So you always have to think of what are you applying for, and what is it about you, about your personality. Like, for example, if you're applying for a job as let's say going into the nursing. Well, caring, people person, friendly, you know, that's all very important because you're going to be working with people. Okay? And nursing is not for everybody, you know, so that's just an example. See, that my example says well-developed supervisory skills. Let's say that somebody is applying for a job as a supervisor, and they have those skills. You want to make sure you put it. It's all about that connection, you know.
So if I don't see any connections, I shouldn't put it here. My qualification, for example, if I'm looking for nursing, I shouldn't write like I have well-developed supervisor skills, right? So
Well, you could, but it's not going to be that impressive for them because, you know, it doesn't really relate to what you're going for. I like to see some qualifications on there, so you know why? There are some qualifications that people have that no matter what job you're applying for, it's going to be an advantage. Like, you know, even if you say something like focused. I'm very organized and focused. Well, you know, that's really important on any job, you know, to be organized, to be focused. So, you know, if you try to pick something about your personality that is general, and I'm sure you can think of something as you take your time and write your resume, okay? Now, if you send a resume that doesn't have qualifications, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean it's not gonna get you an interview. You know, there's no right or wrong. We just try to recommend some recommendations that we feel have worked in the past, you know? But then you, as an individual, have to decide what's best for you, okay? Languages. If you speak a second language, I don't know, I think the two of you speak a second language, right? And what is it?
Portuguese.
Portuguese and
Russian.
Okay, so you, for the two, and you're probably both fluent in it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what you would want to do is you definitely want to have, do you have speak a second language?
Creole and French.
Okay, great. So then you make sure you list the second language. Just, I noticed that sometimes I'll see resume where people will say languages fluent in Spanish and English. Well, you don't want to say English because English, for you, it is your it's your primary language because this is where you're going to apply for a job. So it's understood because if you don't speak English, you're not going to be able to hold a job. So use your native language as your second language, okay? And for you, is English your native language?
No, Creole is.
Okay, and then English is, but you don't mention English at all because it's understood that you're not gonna apply for a job if you don't speak English. Like for myself, Italian is really my native language. I was born in Italy, but I would put that as my second language.
Right, but so you need to write English.
No.
Because
Now, if I was in Italy and I was applying for a job, I would say English is my second language.
Right. So I have only to write like Portuguese and commas native.
Right.
Oh,
No,
no, second
no, no.
language.
Fluent
Fluent
in Portuguese. Because remember, when they get your resume, they didn't meet you. They don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You just want them to know that you're fluent in English. It's understood that you're fluent in English, but you have a second language.
Okay.
Okay?
So I can say fluent in Creole and French.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is it really important to mention what kind of skills exactly I have? I mean, like we wrote computer skills. Can I write just skills? And after release them, probably I have not only computer skills, probably I have something else.
Yes, you can say like technical skills.
If I have different kind of skills, do I
Right.
need to write different columns, like computer skills, technical skills?
You can mix them.
I can mix them, right?
Yeah, you can mix. If you say computer skills, then they're all computer related. If you just say skills, then you can mix them. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like in language too, can I put like level? Like I have basic in Chinese. But
You
just
can, yes, that's a good question. You can say, if it's your native language, obviously it's fluent.
Right.
Like my sample, fluent in Spanish, oh no, this is not the right, this is a different one, but you can say fluent in, what did you say, Portuguese, right? Chinese. No, but
Yeah.
Portuguese is fluent?
Right. Yes.
Okay, fluent in Portuguese and familiar with or knowledge of Chinese.
Oh.
So you're saying you're not fluent, but you know something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Familiar with or knowledge of. Then we get down to the work experience or the professional experience. And with the reverse chronological, which is the page that we're looking at now, you're gonna have dates on it because it's the reverse chronological. My sample is showing that Anne-Marie Young started 2007, and she's still there now. And she's an office manager. We're giving the title first. What her title is, office manager. Who she works for, Chapman Incorporated in Freehold, New Jersey, because you don't need to give the street address, just the city and state, okay? Then with the bullets, the dots, they call those bullets, you're gonna start with an action verb. Every time you start a phrase, remember it's a phrase, it's not a paragraph or a sentence, a phrase with an action verb, saying what you're doing, if it's now, or what you did in the past tense, if it was in the past. Okay? So she supervise, provide, process, resolve, because that's the job she's holding right now. That's what she did. And she's got 4 bullets, Very simple, short and to the point, saying what she's doing. Okay, is that clear to everyone? Okay. Then you see the job before that, she was an administrative assistant for Score de Palma, Manalapan, New Jersey, from 2005 to 2007. Now look at your action verbs. They're in the past tense. Okay? She did that in the past. And then she was a receptionist clerk for a temp agency. And then she's listing her volunteer. And references furnished upon request. It's always a nice way to end a resume. Furnished or available upon request. Okay? So this is the reverse chronological. Now, if we go like this, and we look at the next page, and look at your professional experience. Take a minute or two to look at that, and then see if you can figure out what the difference is. I mean, I'm going to talk about it, but just give you a little bit of time to look at it.
Well, it's kind of like she changed it up a little bit more.
Yes, but more than that,
Summarize what she can do,
Right.
what she did,
Right.
and after put the whole history of the offices.
very good, exactly. What's happening is with this style, the combination skills function style, you're going to bring more attention to what you did, your experience,
Right.
and then you're going to say who you worked for on the bottom, separate. So what happens with this style is it doesn't matter what you did first, you can bring attention to what fits your objective, because you're not going to have any date on that experience. You're just going to date who you worked for,
Right.
but you're not saying where or when.
Right.
Okay? So obviously, if you look at her objective, it's administrative assistant, office manager. So you see she put the administration experience first, and then the human resources management second. So, you know, and now one thing I want to make you aware of is that if you're using this style, the combination skills function, even if it's something you're doing now, it doesn't matter, always say it in the past tense, because we're not saying now or yesterday. It doesn't matter. You want to bring attention to that experience. Numbers are very impressive on a resume. If you can show something with numbers, like the GPA is one example. If you see, she has a bullet here that says saved company over $3,500, like on the page 5, the combination skills function. She's showing something with dollar signs, percentages, numbers in general. They get a lot of attention. She processed clients' reimbursement claims with 95% accuracy. You see, that's going to get attention. Those numbers will get attention. So if you can think of something, then, you know, show it.
So the more numbers in my resume, that's better, right?
The better, yeah, the better. Provided that the numbers relate to a job or experience.
Because it gives the exact picture of what I have done, right?
Right.
So not just common words, common phrases.
Exactly.
It's the exact thing.
If you worked, let's say that you worked, this is just a very simple example, but I took a job in Macy's for the holidays, let's say. And I worked in the houseware small appliance department. And the season I worked for Macy's, at the end of the season, they saw that the sales went up by 2% compared to last year. It could mean that I made a difference, that maybe I was very good with customers and, you know, like, there was a difference in the sales, you know? That's an example, but anytime you make a difference for a company, a store, anybody you worked for, they're going to look at it and say, wow, this person made a difference, you know? Okay? Then you list your employment history. And again, if you're working now, you would say from when you started to the present, and then you work your way back. This sample has that she belongs to an organization, member, human resources, professional association, and look at she, you know, it's a good organization to show on the resume. You know, it's not anything really personal. Languages, again, and references furnished upon request. Any questions on the resume?
Which one is better? What do you think? The first one or the second one?
I think that it depends on how much experience you have.
So if I don't have experience at all, or I have just very little,
Use the first one.
First, right?
No, I would use the first one. It depends on not only how much experience you have, but how much experience that relates to what your goal is.
Yeah.
Okay, this style, the combination skills function style, I'll tell you when it's an advantage to use it. If you have a lot of experience, and maybe you don't want to show all your experience. Let's say you have a lot of experience, but maybe one job you worked for 3 months and you really, really didn't like it. There was really no connection with your goal. You can actually leave it off.
Right.
If you have gaps, you know, a lot of times people have gaps. Gaps happen. Maybe you decided to stop working and just go to school. Maybe you decided, maybe, God forbid, there was an illness. Maybe, you know, whatever the reason was that you may have a gap, you're not showing it. And sometimes it's better not to show a gap on a resume. You don't want to give them any reason to say, oh, you know, I wonder what he was doing or what she was doing. You know, it doesn't matter. When you go on the interview, if you want to talk about it, you can. But now you got the interview, okay, which is the most important thing.
And like, what about I have a professional experience of work, then I have interns too. Do I have to put the interns too or
Yes.
not? Yes.
I think it's good to have an internship.
Yeah, no, like an intern, I don't know if it's the same. Being intern in Brazil is like when you're studying, you
Yes.
can take a part of job.
Yes, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I would show it.
Like, do I have to describe like all what I did? Like
No,
or
no.
just the dates?
Let me see. Do I have a sample on here? Achievements. I thought I had one.
Because this I was
Yeah.
a little bit like, I don't know if I should or not.
Okay, the internships. First of all, if it was an internship in your major, and now you're going for that major.
Yes.
Let's say your major is accounting. You did an internship in accounting, and now you're looking for a job in accounting.
Right.
I would definitely show it. Under the education, you would just say internship,
Right.
and name the company you did it for. That's all, and maybe even the time.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
I have a question about the internship.
Sure.
Is it, how can I ask the question? Is there a requirement for an internship?
No, it's not required. There are some majors that don't require an internship at all. It depends, you know, on the major.
Okay. So like, doesn't like require like your GPA or if you're in your first year of college or anything like that?
No. Mm-mm. If you do a resume without an internship, it's fine. However, if you did an internship and it connects with your goal,
Yeah.
it's going to get attention.
Yeah, because I would love to do an internship with
Yeah.
with my goal.
It is good to have it on the resume, especially if you're just starting off. You know, you don't have, let's say, in years to come, you're going to have so much experience that it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the experience that's going to get the attention. But if you're just starting off, remember, you're building a resume. You have to build it with something. So you can put an internship, you can put volunteer, you can put maybe even even a course, a relevant course that is very impressive, because you're starting off. You know, they're not expecting you to have a lot of work history. That's going to come in time.
If I have some experience, work experience in some other countries, not in the United States,
Right.
Is it good to place this information?
Sure. Sure, you would put, if you feel that it's going to be impressive, yes, that doesn't matter if it was in another country. It's the experience that's valuable. So you just, all you have to do is put the name of the company, you could put the country that it was in, and the time. How long were you there for, you know? And, you know, like 1 or 2 bullets explaining what you did, you know, so that they see that there was a connection.
And what about international experience? Like, if you go to, like I went to Taiwan to have about the culture, the architecture, because I'm an architect. So
Okay.
have something familiar with, like, show that I will already travel around the world is good.
Well, what are you, you know, when you're looking for a job, is it going to be in the acting profession or?
Actually, it's about a building construction, what I'm looking for, the job that I'm looking for.
It's what?
I'm in architect,
Right.
in building construction, in
Okay.
real estate.
Okay.
So I don't know if I have to show, like, my difference is about the culture that I already have, traveling, what I see, what I saw. I don't know
If you can translate it to the construction, you said construction, building, right?
Yes.
Yeah, architect,
Yes.
right? If you can translate it to that, you know, if there's a connection, yes. If there's a way that you can explain that there's a connection, absolutely, absolutely. That's all valuable. It really is, you know. See, what happens is there's just so much you can say on a resume, but whatever it is you say, you want to make sure you have to think to yourself, okay, this person's going to read the resume. They're not going to read every word. They're not going to read everything anyway. What is it about my resume that they're going to be impressed with? If you tell them something you think is great but doesn't really relate to the job you're applying for, they're not going to be impressed. Might be great, but it's not going to do anything for them. So remember that there's got to be a connection, okay? It's when you go on the interview that then you can talk. The interview is going to give you an opportunity to say a lot more that you didn't say on the resume, okay? It's getting that foot in the door that's important. Now, when you're sending a resume, when you're doing, you know, searching on your own, you want to make sure, always make sure you include a cover letter. Okay, are you guys familiar with a cover letter?
We did write it during my ESL class 2-5, so
Okay.
it was.
So you have an idea of what it's about?
I have an idea, yeah, but I'm not a professional writer of cover
Okay, but that's
letters.
okay. You don't have to be. The cover letter, the sample that I have in the packet is very simple. What it is when you're sending a resume, you want to have the resume on top, on the bottom, and the cover letter on top. You don't want to staple. Don't ever staple a resume. It's just not a good idea. You want your resume to be as perfect as possible. So don't staple it. But so you have your cover letter. Now the cover letter is going to say, "Dear Mr. Jones, Mrs. Smith," and let's just remember. Okay, on page 6, it briefly tells you that a cover letter is a sales pitch and it's an attention getter. It names the position that you're applying for. It demonstrates your ability to summarize your skills and experience. It identifies the single most important reason why you should get further consideration for the job. It expresses your knowledge of the company. It's a personal communication between you and the employer. It highlights information from the resume that directly responds to the job requirements. In short, it's short and to the point, no more than half a page. and mentions why you would like to work for the company, identifies relocation issues, that's really not that important. Yeah, sometimes you'll see a job that will say they want to know if you're willing to relocate. That's not going to apply to you right now, but they may ask, would you be willing to move to Brazil? Would you be willing to move to China or wherever, But that's not that important right now. Identifies mutual acquaintances. In other words, what that means is if somebody recommends you for a job, it's very helpful in getting an interview. It's not going to get you the job, but it's going to get you an interview, most likely.
So tell them who recommended.
Right, exactly. Because think about it this way. If somebody recommends you for a job, it's not because they're your friend or because they like you. It's because they believe you can do a good job. Because think about it. If they don't think you're going to do a good job, it's going to be a reflection on them. Yeah. So they wouldn't recommend you. So if they recommend you, mention their name because there's a good chance out of courtesy to them, you may get an interview. Okay? It must have perfect grammar and spelling and use the same paper as the resume, which we're going to talk about that, a little bit further. Now, the general outline of a cover letter is on page 7. Okay, that's not the sample, it's the outline though. So, you're going to have your personal information on top, your name, your street, city, and so forth. You're going to date it. Then you're going to have the name of the employer, who you're sending it to, with their address and all. And it's always best if you can have the name of a person that you're sending it to. I don't recommend saying to whom it may concern, or to the office manager, or to the, hiring manager, because you never know what's going to happen to it. If you have the name of a person, then when you follow up, because you're going to always follow up when you send a resume, always follow up with a phone call. Now you can say, may I speak to Mrs. Jones, Mr. Smith, or whoever. You have the name of a person. That person hopefully has taken more responsibility than if you just say to whom it may concern. Okay? So, if you don't know the name of the person, let's say you see a job advertised in the newspaper and they're not giving you the name of a person, but there's a phone number, there's an address, there's the name of the company. Whatever information you have, call, go on the website and say, I'm forwarding my resume, I'm interested in this job, who may I send it to? Try to get the name of a person. If it's not possible, then the next best thing is,
to whom it may concern.
To whom it may concern. I hate that. Maybe the least you can do is say human resources or hiring manager or something, okay? Because then at least, but the name is always best.
So, if you don't know the name, you put, hiring manager.
Right.
What about for employer's title?
Employer's name, employer's title. Well, that's if you have the name. Let's say you say, like for me, for example, if you were sending me a resume, which you're not going to do that because I don't hire, but you would say Rose Masiri, Career Services Coordinator. So it would be my name and my title. And then the company, Brookdale Community College, Lynbrook, New Jersey. You see?
Yes.
Now, this outline should help you when you're ready to write your cover letter, because what you're going to do, see where I said introduction paragraph?
Yeah.
And you can actually write next to that. Your introduction paragraph, how are you going to come up with this paragraph? Well, if you say to yourself, why am I writing? So you may want to write that on there so that it'll remind you, why am I writing? And that'll help you to come up with the answer. Why am I writing? Okay, so let's say that I'm applying for a job. I am interested in the position that I saw in the Asbury Park Press this past Sunday, December 2nd, 2012, for the position of paralegal. Okay, you see? I am saying why I'm writing. You want to say where you saw the advertisement, the title of the job. Don't assume they know. Just be proactive. The title of the job, where did you see it, and so forth, okay? Because maybe they're advertising more than one job. So now you're letting them know what you're all about. So that's briefly why you're writing. The body, what goes in the body of the letter, which is the next paragraph, okay, which is this paragraph. The body of the letter is, why should I be hired and not someone else? Why should it be me? Why do I think it should be me and not somebody else? So, how do you do that? What do you put in there? Well,
Like your qualifications
right,
that
exactly.
you've done that are close to that.
Exactly. You're going to tell them, I feel I'm a good fit for this position because I have a degree from Brookdale, I have 3 years experience, I'm proficient in PowerPoint, I speak Spanish, and so forth. Whatever it is that, you know, and you're going to take from your resume.
So I can mention some information from my resume, right?
Absolutely. Because remember, they're going to see the cover letter first.
Oh.
Because when you send it, it's going to be the cover letter where you're introducing yourself.
So it's very important. Yeah.
And again, are they going to read every word? No. But give them something that they might be interested in.
Is it good to put some numbers too, like in the resume? Like
I'm sorry?
Is it a good idea to put some numbers, like in the resume, like 95%? I increased the income of my company on 95%.
Yeah, it could. You could. You know, you don't want to say too. You don't want the cover letter to be too long because again, they're not going to read it. But you do want to tell them why they should consider you and not somebody else. So whatever it is that's going to be impressive, let them know. Then the conclusion, that's very simple. It's you want to show them that you really want that job. So by being proactive, I look forward to hearing from you. If there's anything else you need to know that may not be on my resume, please feel free to call me. If you have any other questions, feel free to call me.
Yes, I saw in the book about cover letters, it's like action phrase. Like you saying that I'm going to call you next week to make a point of interview. It's, for me, it's too aggressive.
Yeah, that is a
It's
little
not-
bit too aggressive.
It's not very good,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's a little bit too pushy. Some people do that, and
Yes,
some
I
people
saw.
recommend that. I'm not that comfortable with that, but what I would say is maybe I look for, I will follow up with a phone call to discuss any other questions that you may have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yes, you're being proactive, but you don't want to turn them off,
Yes.
you know,
True.
so
Yeah,
you have to do what you're comfortable with.
Yes, it's true.
You know?
Okay.
Again, you never know who's reading it.
Right.
Somebody may be okay with that, somebody may not be. You don't want to take that chance,
Yes.
you know?
Okay.
But the next page is an actual sample. Again, this sample is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but it was just to kind of give you an idea of how I worded. First I said where I saw the position, or the position I'm applying for, then why I think I should be a good fit, and then being proactive. You see the proactive, I will follow up with a phone call to discuss any qualifications and to learn more about this opportunity.
Is that a good closure?
Yes.
Okay.
Should you need to reach me, please feel free to contact me. Now you say, okay, why should I give my phone number, my email address? But that's being proactive,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
So that's that. When you're writing your resume and the cover letter, please make sure you use spell check, grammar check. It's not a good impression to send a resume with a misspelled word. You may be more qualified than the next person, but if there's a misspelled word, or if it's wrinkled, or if it's got a coffee stain on it, or if it's sloppy looking, not that I would think you guys are gonna do that, but remember, they're gonna move on to the next one. You want your resume to stand out from the rest. So make sure you spell check, grammar check, use resume paper. Are you guys familiar with resume paper? Okay. If you go to Staples and you ask for resume paper, it's, and I need to bring some in. I need to buy some so I can actually show it. But if you ever get a business letter from someone, you notice it's like cream or ivory or off-white, and it's a nicer feel. It's like a linen feel. They're not that expensive. It's a package usually, and maybe it could be maybe $5, $6, you know.
Mhm.
But if you really want to make a difference, it makes a good impression.
What's the size of this paper? Do you
It's
know?
this,
Is
the
this
A4, right?
leather?
A4
A4?
size, yeah.
Right. It's
Okay.
it's this size.
Okay.
It has matching envelopes.
And, oh yeah, you always put that application and resume and envelope, right?
What application?
I'm just saying, like, well, the job that I'm looking for, I have to do the application and in my resume all at once.
Oh, is it online though?
No, it's not on. It's not on.
Oh, okay. Is that what they say? Complete the application,
Yeah.
send it, forward it with the resume?
Yeah.
Then yes, then you would put everything together. Sometimes they want you to send the resume first, and then when you go, they ask you to fill out the application. But it depends on the job. You know, so whatever they ask for, make sure you do that, yes.
And like, when I send it by mail, my resume and cover letter and my portfolio, do I have like to write, let me think, the cover letter in the mail, where I'm writing, or is
Mail.
inclusion?
While you're doing it online, is that what you're saying?
Yes, right, like I'm going to send my mail to a jobs company, like
Okay.
architectural. Like, when I write the email to the human resource, do I have like to copy the cover letter in the email, right? It's correct? Or I have to do,
A hard copy?
yes.
Yeah, I would do, it depends on how they ask. How are they asking for the resume? The cover letter always goes with the resume.
Right,
So you're talking about sending the resume, right?
Yes.
Online?
yes,
Okay,
online.
then I would do the cover letter online.
Online,
Do both. If they're asking for a resume online, then there's no need to mail one.
right.
I would do everything online, yeah.
Is it good is it a good idea to send it? Okay, I emailed them, but I wanna send it just physically, like by regular post office. Is it a good idea to
Yeah.
email them and send it?
To do
myself?
both?
Yeah.
To do both, you can do both. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you want to go that extra step and do, but sometimes when you're applying online, you may not even have an address, you know, but, I just, you know, when you're applying for a job, I always recommend that you shouldn't not apply to anybody that you don't know who they are. You need to do research on the company. You need to know who it is that's receiving. This is your resume, it's your personal information. A lot of times it could be companies out there that are collecting statistics. It could be, they may be advertising it as a job and it's really not. Like if you see something in the newspaper and it says just fax resume, or forward resume. Or it'll say paralegal wanted, fax resume. And people just fax their resume. It's a shame, because where is it going? You have no idea where it's going. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend it. At least if there's a phone number, now you're going to call. Call and see where it is and do research. Do research before you apply, or at least, if not before you apply, before you go on an interview. Do your research on who the company is before you go on an interview. So, you know, you need to be careful with that. Okay, did I answer your question? I mean, you said about emailing and also,
I mean, will it hurt me after or not? Because sometimes the employer, he doesn't want you to send him physical papers. He just want to get some online. And if it mentioned that on his website or on some special work site, so can I send it physically, by the way, if he just mentioned don't send it by a regular post office, just
then
email me.
Send it. I wouldn't
So
send
if
it.
he didn't want that, I shouldn't do it, right?
I wouldn't do
It's
it,
the
no.
same like when they say, don't call me, don't, like about some websites saying this.
No calls
this-
accepted or
Yes.
something, right,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, because that's why they do it that way, you know, so that they eliminate a lot of phone calls and a lot of, you know, that's just the way it is. In today's world, a lot of them do it that way because it's quicker, it's less phone calls, less paperwork, you know?
But I think this, if the employer is a serious one, he's not gonna say that. I mean, he's gonna ask you about real physical resume,
Right.
cover letter.
Well,
and-
what he might do, look at what you've sent, and then maybe also contact you and ask you to send a hard copy.
yeah,
or,
exactly.
yeah. I would say if they don't say anything, do both. It's not gonna hurt you to do both, you know? If they don't mention anything.
Mhm.
So that's as far as the cover letter. I just want to mention briefly that if there's a job that you really, really want to impress the employer and even do something that's a notch above what I talked about, you can actually, it's our same resume paper I talked about, but they now also have envelopes that are the same size as the resume, and it says do not bend or whatever. It's a little more expensive, but a resume always looks best if it's not folded.
Right.
So if it's something you don't want to just send it to anybody, but if it's a job you really want to make a difference, even if not now, maybe in the future, then use that resume envelope where you put the resume, the cover letter in there, and it again, it's gonna stand out. So that's what it's about.
So you have to always make some difference between you
Right.
and the rest of
Right.
other people.
Exactly.
And you said so we shouldn't staple the paper. So how do we should to keep them like together?
Just like that, yeah. The resume, the cover letter. That's
And
it.
that's it.
And then put
Put
it in
it
the
in
big
the-
envelope,
yeah.
or if you got to fold it,
Yeah.
that's fine too. You know. Sometimes it depends on the type of job you're applying for too. Some jobs, it's really very impressive if you do send a big envelope, and some jobs it might not be. You know, you never know, but it's better to go that extra step than not. You know, it gives you an advantage.
Better more than less.
Yes, exactly. So, any questions now on the resume? No, okay, we're gonna cover a little bit of interview skills. We don't have a lot of time, but preparing for the interview. Remember I said to you the job of the resume was to get you, what?
The first step to the interview.
The interview, right, to get you an interview. So you did a great job on your resume, you sent your resume and you got an interview. You got the phone call. That's what you want. You want to get that phone call for the interview. You want to make sure, stay organized when you're looking for a job. Get yourself a binder, a brochure, a notebook, and keep a record. Who are you sending your resume to? When did you send it? What's the name of the company? It really does help you to stay organized. So when you get the phone call, make sure you write down the name of the person who's calling. Maybe you know the company, but write down the name of the person that you're going to meet with. You know, get good directions. That's common sense, but sometimes, you know, you don't think about it because it's exciting to get that phone call. Make sure you know where you're going. If it's an area you're not familiar with, take a drive in advance. Get there a little bit early. 10 minutes early is enough. Dress professionally. You know, no matter what the nature of the job is, it doesn't matter. But when you go on the interview, you want to be, it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. Once you get the job, then you can adapt the dress code. Don't bring a phone, don't bring coffee, don't bring food. You know, you just don't want to take a chance of spilling something. Be friendly to everybody you meet, even if it's somebody in the parking lot, somebody in the call, somebody in the elevator. Why? Why is that important?
Because you never know who that person might be.
Right, right. You never know who that person might be. If you're running late, give them a call. It's okay. Things happen. Maybe you got up late. Maybe it's raining. Maybe you made a wrong turn. It's fine. But just give them a call out of courtesy. You want to, they're going to ask you some questions. We don't know what they're going to ask, but you guys have worked, so you've been on interviews, correct? So you have an idea of some of the questions. I have some samples here on page 11, sample interview questions. The first one I'm going to talk about for sure because I think it's one that always comes up. Tell me about yourself. That's usually how they start. No matter what else they're going to ask, they will say, can you tell me something about yourself? So if you write a commercial of yourself and you practice that commercial, you will always be comfortable when they ask you that question. Tell me about yourself. So on the next page is a sample of a commercial, and this will help you with that first question. Tell me about yourself commercial. For yourself, at your own leisure, whenever you're home, and you're gonna, it's on page 12. I jumped from 11 to 12 just to show you. Tell me about yourself commercial. So when you're ready to do your own, you're gonna fill in the blanks, and then you're gonna practice it over and over again, okay? And you'll become comfortable. And then the bottom is an actual sample that I, made up. A student who is applying for a job at Brookdale, and she goes in on the interview, and they say, tell me about yourself. So she says, I will graduate in May from Brookdale Community College, where I am enrolled in the education program. I am working in the Children's Center here at Brookdale in order to pay for my college tuition. At the same time, I managed to maintain a 3.5 GPA, so I expect to graduate with honors. Working and attending school full-time taught me to organize and prioritize my time management skills. I could not have succeeded without these skills. Considering the demands of this position, I see this experience especially important for my education career. Now, I just wanted to read that because I want to bring attention to the fact that you notice she's not saying anything personal. She's relating all her whole commercial to school, work, her GPA, because that's impressive. She's letting the employer know that she's working, attending school, and she has a high GPA, and that's impressive, okay? So that's an example of what a commercial should be about, okay? So now we'll go back to page 11, and there are other questions, and you can look at that and tell me if there's a question you want me to cover, to talk about. Because I'm not going to talk about all of them. There are quite a few.
What about when it says what qualities do you possess?
What qualities do you possess that will help you in this job? Okay, that's when you want to talk about your qualifications. What are your qualifications that fit that job? I'm very organized. I'm a people person. I'm very friendly. Depending on whether those qualifications fit the job that you're looking for. So you're applying for. So you need to pull from your resume some of the skills and qualifications.
I think that's a good question. What do you see yourself doing 3 years from now?
Okay, that's a good one too. No matter what your purpose of applying for that job is, maybe deep down it is just to get a little experience and then move elsewhere, but you never want to tell them that, okay? So where do you see yourself 3 years from now? Well, I want to grow with this company and see where it takes me. I want to advance, learn, and increase my skills, increase my experience, and see where it takes me. Very simple. You want to grow and stay there. But you want to show them that you want to stay there, but you don't want to have a dead-end job. You don't want to be doing the same thing year after year after year. Okay?
But they're asking usually about numbers. What kind of salary do you want to get?
Okay, the
Paid.
salary, okay, the salary, I don't recommend talking about salary unless they ask you. You know, if you have no choice, you have no choice. But sometimes they will say, when they advertise a job, they may say, forward a resume with a salary request. Okay, then if you ignore it, they may not call you for an interview. And the reason why they do that is so they can narrow it down. If you want too much money, they're not going to call you. However, if you ask for less than what they were going to pay, you're going to get less.
Yeah.
So be very careful. So you need to do your homework when it comes to the salary. Before you talk about money, you need to know what that job is paying, what the average salary is. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but the last page in the packet, there are some websites that I'm giving you for your own information. You know, if you want to research a company, if you want to research a profession. Notice that there's a section, salary ranges. Any of those, you can actually research a salary, okay? So do your homework before you go on an interview. Go into one of those websites, let's say salary.com. You're applying for a position as a web designer in Monmouth County with no experience. It's going to give you a range. It's not going to give you an exact amount. It will give you, you know, I don't know, $8 to $12 or whatever.
And
But
most
now-
of the companies, they talk about salary about in a year. The salary of the years is correct. Or something like per hour.
Right, exactly,
Or
yes.
per hour,
yes.
or
Or
the
yearly.
total salary of the
Of the year, right, exactly, yeah. So now, if you are gonna give them a salary, you know, even if you have no experience, don't go real low, but don't go to the high end, because you're not gonna get it. However, if they don't ask, don't talk about it. Wait until they are interested in you. But you need to know. You need to be prepared with how much you want. Why do I say that? Because if they are interested in you, there's a good chance you're going to get what you want. Maybe even a little bit more than what they were going to pay. Because you say, well, I'll take, I don't know, $12 an hour, or $12 to $14 an hour. And maybe they were going to pay $11.50. Now, they really want you, so chances are they'll go up $1, or they don't want to lose you. And maybe they'll talk to the higher manager and say, you know, I really like this person. Can we go up in salary a little bit?
How can I feel it that I can try to increase my paycheck? I mean, I got an interview, I passed it, and I got a question about the salary, or I know my salary on this job, but I want a little more. So how can I understand? Can I mention my wishes? Can I try to increase to get more, or I shouldn't do it?
Well, remember that a salary alone is not, it doesn't really, you may get a little bit more money, or the money that you want, but maybe there's no benefits, maybe there's only 1 week's vacation instead of 2 or 3, maybe you don't get holidays paid. So sometimes that's another reason why I don't think you should make a decision right away, because it has to do with what they have to offer, and you might not know that right away. Now, in your case, what you're saying is that they're telling you an amount and
Yep.
it's really less than what you want.
Yep.
Okay, so you can say, how often do you review? How often do you do your reviews? Because they may say, oh, we review after the first 3 months. We're going to review you after 3 months. Then you're going to say to yourself, well, you know what? In 3 months, there's a chance I'm going to get an increase because I'm going to do a good job. So you may not even have to talk about it. Just wait, you know. But if they say, oh, we review every year, we're going to do it, then you might want to say to yourself, oh, I don't know if I want to work here a whole year at that rate. So then you have to be honest. You have to, you know, talk about the fact that you would, well, I feel that I have experience, I have, you know, I'm proficient, and mention some of your skills, and I was hoping to get a little bit more than what you're offering. And you know what? If they really want you, they may be flexible. Maybe they don't have it in their budget. There's no money in their budget.
Yep.
Then you have to make that decision. But know what else you're getting besides that salary. What else is there?
And many times I heard the question, which was, how do you see your future in our company in 3 years? Where are we gonna be? What do you think? How much expecting to get paid in 3 years? And how many degrees more? I mean, they're always asking this question. What do you think will happen in 3 years?
You should always show them that you're eager to improve. You know, that you're not going to just, you know, that you're going to continue your education. You want to move up. You want to grow with that company, advance with that company, and you know that needs to always be your answer. I don't know about the salary though, because you really can't predict, you know.
Yes, but they want to hear some exact numbers too. I mean,
really?
they're asking, so how much you're gonna get in 3 years? Like today
Oh,
I'm
you know
making
what?
4,000, and
Actually,
how
that's
about in 3 years?
I'm glad you brought that up. I have, because I feel like that's it's hard to give them an answer, and you don't want to give the wrong
that's why they're
answer.
asking.
But on page 14, this might help you. It's a salary negotiation discussion, but it might help you with what you're asking me too. These are discussions or answers when you don't want to give an amount. When they say, what kind of a salary are you looking for? As an example, you could say, well, you know, money is not my only priority. I'd really like to discuss my contributions to the company first, if I could. So it gives you a chance to hold off on answering that question. I am sure that you have a fair salary structure. Oh, this might be a good one for you. Look, the third from the bottom. I am sure that you have a fair salary structure, and if I'm the best candidate for the position, we can work something out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, it's very general, but it's not, because I really don't think they should ask you. They should not ask that. Because you don't know what's going to happen with the company. You know, they maybe have good intentions of paying a lot more, and then maybe the company doesn't do well, and they're not going to have money in their budget. So I think to predict that is just not fair. I don't think it's a fair question, you know?
I think they just want to understand who you are,
Right.
What kind of wishes do you have, what is your logic is, I mean, such things. What do you think? What do you want to get? I mean,
well, they definitely prefer somebody who is showing that the job is more important. Although, listen, everybody needs money. We all like money, so we would be fooling ourselves if that wasn't the case. But you want to show them that, you know what, first of all, and I need to back up a little bit. When you're applying for a job, like I said, research the company, know who they are. So you can say something like, you know, I've learned a lot about the company, and I really want to grow with this company. I heard that you merged with ABC company, and that your growth sales went up by 5% the last couple of years. So you're bragging about how good they are, and that's why you want to work for them. Not so much because of the money. The money will come. The money, it's understood. But you want to stroke them about who they are. You want them to feel good about who they are. So, you know, I think that trying to find an answer that is very general but doesn't show that you only care about the money, because I think that's probably what they're looking for, to make sure that you're not that type of person. You know.
Probably. Yeah.
So. Okay.
And think I have one more question about
Sure. Let's
the
see.
questions, possible questions from possible employer. So the question is, what are your weaknesses?
Okay. That's a good, yeah, and that's a common one too. Okay. The best way to handle that is, well, first of all, we're all comfortable talking about our strengths because that we feel good about. Our weaknesses, we don't want to talk about it. But we all have weaknesses. We're human and we all have weaknesses. And if we say we don't have any, that's not a good answer.
Yeah.
Okay? So think about a weakness that you're doing something about. Talk about a weakness that you are working on to make it better. So, as an example, my technical skills are not to the level that I want them to be, but I just got a brochure from Brookdale and I saw there's a course I'm going to take because I really want to bring them to the next level. So you're being proactive, you're doing something about it. Public speaking, that's usually a good one because unless you're applying for a job in public speaking, this is a good one to use it. I'm not very comfortable speaking in front of a crowd, public speaking, but I plan on taking a course so that I can be better at it. Or I'm very neat and organized, but sometimes it drives me crazy because I just can't go home at the end of the day unless everything is cleared off my desk. Well, they're going to love that because, you know, they know you're going to stay on top of your job and you're going to finish your work before you go home. It's a weakness, but it's really not, you know. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you want to handle that. You want to be prepared to ask them questions. You know, at the end of the interview, they're probably going to say, okay, we're done with our questions. Do you have any questions of us? You never want to say no. You always want to have 1 or 2 questions is enough. However, prepare to have more than 1 or 2, maybe more like 3 or 4, because you may have a question in your mind that you're going to ask them, but they answer it during the interview without you asking. So when they say, do you have any questions of us? Yes, I do. And ask a question. And I have a couple of samples here. Page 13 on top. You know, there's a few questions. What kind of training do you provide? You may want to ask, when do you expect to reach a decision? That's always a good one because it's showing that you're interested and they owe you an answer.
But isn't that when you say what was the question?
When do you expect to make a decision?
Oh, like, you know, like pretty much just saying when are you going to receive the answer of you being hired?
Well, when are you going to make a decision as to who you're going to hire?
Okay.
Yeah, like let's say they're interviewing different people. Now they need to make a decision. It's a good question to ask. Yeah.
Because I was going to ask that before my last interview, but I wasn't too sure because I didn't want to know. Like I thought that was at least like, you know, like rushing them.
Not really, no, because you know what? Sometimes they don't even tell you when they make a decision, which is rude, but you're telling them that, you know what, when you make a decision, I'd like to know. This way I can move on, you know?
Yeah.
So a few questions, 1 or 2 is good enough, and when you're done with the interview, you're going to thank them, you're going to shake their hand, thank you for giving me the opportunity, you're going to ask for a business card, and what are you going to do when you go home? Thank you, right, a thank you letter. You're going to write a thank you letter. So now you have the business card, you have the name of the person, you have the title, you don't have to guess, you know? And a short thank you should do it right away, don't wait too long.
And hand it to them or mail it?
Mail it to them. Yeah, and if you have that extra, you have paper from the resume, extra, but use the same paper. It's business-like, and there's a sample. Page 15. short and to the point. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss your opening for the marketing executive position yesterday. I am impressed with the strong marketing plans and strategy for achieving your objectives, and so forth. Short and to the point. You know, when you're applying for a job, it's all about them hearing your name, meeting you, hearing your name, meeting you. Also, it's, let's say that they're in the midst of making a decision, and they have 2 resumes. Of all the resumes they received, now they have to narrow it down to 2, and they need to make a decision. You send a thank you, and the other person doesn't. Sometimes that's all it takes for them to say, well, they do appreciate a thank you. There was statistics done that 85% of the people who go on an interview do not write a thank you. 15% do. So that hasn't changed over the years. So if you write a thank you, you're going to stand out, because most people don't. So it can give you an advantage. Okay? And don't wait too long. You know, you go home, the next day write it. By the time you write it, by the time you mail it, it's going to be a few days. Okay?
So do I need to write a separate letter, like you said, thank you, just like this one?
Yes, yeah, this is just, I'm telling you what it is, but it would be, this is your information on the very top. You're going to date it, of course, and then who you're sending it to. Remember, now you have that business card that gives you all the information you need, the name of the person, the title, the address, and all. And then just basically talk a little bit about giving them an opportunity, why you think you should be hired, and so forth.
In how many days I should see it? I mean, in how many days it's
After?
the best time? Right after?
You should do it right away. You don't want to wait too long. No, I recommend doing it right away. You're probably not going to do it the same day, but the next day, maybe 2 days later. Think of yourself when you get a thank you from somebody for something. If you get it, like, it's happened to me, where sometimes I've gotten a thank you for something or a gift 3 months later, it's almost like it's not as meaningful. If you get it right away, and it's just a different feeling, you know? You want to be fresh in their mind when they get that thank you. Now they're going to see your name, they're going to picture who you are, and it plays a role, it really does. Make sure you use spell check, grammar check, and so forth, okay? That's it. The last page is really just some information for you to do some research. If you want to research employers, careers, and so forth. The bottom of that page is our department, okay? Remember I said to you, can actually, this right here, experiential learning and career service, this will bring you into a job bank, positions that are posted with my department for general jobs. So when you're done writing your resume, you can call the office, make an appointment for me to review your resume. I'll be happy to do that. Just let the secretary know you're calling for resume review. Come in, I'll look at it. In the meantime, before you come in, if you're looking for a job, check this website, see if there's anything in there that you might be interested in, and then I'll forward the resume. When you go into this website, it's not going to give you the name of the employer, it's not going to give you the address or the phone number. They want us to send the resume. But it's going to give you everything you need to know if you're interested.
Which website?
And then the very bottom, this, you have to follow this, okay? When you call, if you're going to call for an interview, for resume review to come in, this is my direct number, but you want to call the secretary for an appointment. So I'm going to give it to you to write right on that in front of the packet. For an appointment, call 732-224-2792. Because I'm not always there, but the secretary has the calendar, so she can give you an appointment. Okay? So that's it. That's It's about the workshop, about the
Can
interview.
you see my resume? My resume?
You have it with you?
Yes.
I'm not gonna have time now because
Okay.
it's after 1 already.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm running kind of late, but if you want to, well, you want to make an appointment and bring what you have,
Right, yes.
and I will look at it,
Yeah.
okay? I'll be happy to do that,
Okay.
okay?
And if I wanted to do an internship, where do I go to?
Call that same number and tell the secretary that you need an appointment for an internship, and she'll give you the right coordinate. It's still in that department, but it's not going to be with me.
Okay.
She'll tell you. It depends on your major, it depends on what kind of an internship, and she'll give you an appointment. Okay?
And one more question, if I'm looking for OPT or something like that, so can I call by this number too and make an appointment? For,
OPT, that's an occupation. What is that?
it's optional practice training,
Okay.
because I'm an international student, and so now I don't have work permission to work out of the campus. I can work only on campus, but I can work out of campus if I have OPT or other practice or training. I don't remember the exact name. So what I need to do, to call this number too and make an appointment to discuss about it, or I have to go in my international center
I
and
think
discuss?
you have to go to the International Center for that. And then, because that would be, you mean when you're eventually ready to work off campus?
Yep.
Yeah, as long as you have the qualification,
I do have.
the documentation, then yes, you can come, you can call my department.
Oh, so I have to retrieve all papers from International Center and after make an appointment with your department?
Right.
Okay. And when you're available? When can I reach you? Which days?
You mean for what, for an appointment?
Yeah, for review my resume.
You have, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but when you call, the secretary goes right into the computer and she sees everybody's calendar. So,
Oh, can I go there?
yeah, you can do that too, yeah.
What's her name?
You can do that too. Well, she's actually not there today, but Susan is there. Susan is there.
So we can make an appointment right now, right?
Yes.
For review.
You can do that. Yeah, and ask her about that international question that you have, because, you know, I want to make sure that you're connected to the right people for that, okay?
And just one more question. In my cover letter, I already wrote, like, I just moved to US, and I wrote that I am a permanent resident. Is this good? Because, like, he's searching for how he can work out of the campus. Because I want to show to the Office of the Human Resource that I can work in US. I'm not illegal here. Is correct?
Well,
No.
I don't think so, because I don't think you really need, I think you're like moving a step ahead. They have no idea, by looking at your resume,
Right.
they don't know that you're from a different country.
No, I think they will know because of all my professional experience, it's in Brazil. So they were looking like, oh, she's here in US studying, maybe,
Well,
I don't know.
if you're applying for a job, it's understood that you're a permanent resident.
Okay.
And I would think that they would know that if you weren't a permanent resident, you wouldn't be looking for that job. So I don't know. I don't think it's really necessary, but you know, I know what you're saying. You're saying you want to be a step ahead.
Yes,
Because you
because
don't-
like as architects, like it's very, you can do freelancers, something like this. It's not so formal. So sometimes you can just get money per hour, something like this, not have the benefits.
Right,
something.
right.
You don't need the social security, something like this. So it's very informal. So
I see.
Some websites that I saw in the internet say only U.S. and permanent residents is required. So something like this. Because of this, I was thinking to write in the cover
Right,
letter.
right, yeah. Yeah, I you know, haven't really been faced with that question, so if you know, if it's the way you word it too. You need to be careful the way you word it. Maybe you can say something like, you know, that you know, being a permanent resident, I am now ready to work, to look for full-time. I am now eager to get a full-time job, or somewhere in there. Maybe you can say that, but you don't need to go into too much detail, you know? And if the advertisement does say only U.S. citizens apply, then it's understood that you're not going to apply unless you're a U.S. citizen.
Yes.
Then you don't even need to say anything.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So good luck to you guys.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you too.
Take it, sir.